Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the Red Bull Ring for the 60 Minutes of Austria in the RevLimit Workshop Development Series presented by DesignPing. My name's Alayton Norgard. Joining me in the booth is William White as race control and Nick Masse manning the cameras. How's it going, guys?
Going good. Ready for the first road course race of the season at a track that's been not very frequently used in the league. I don't think ever before, at least not in my tenure in the league. So it's going to be a unique challenge for all the drivers, but hopefully it should be a good race with the obviously unique time format as opposed to a regular lap race.
And that also makes sure it's a bit of a shorter race. But let's go ahead and take a look at the starting grid for tonight. Starting on the 4D Raceware pole is Caleb Bakumer, beating out Gavin Hibbs in second, Sean Leisure in third. In fourth is Austin Abnett, Corey Abbott on the inside of the third row, Noah Brown in sixth, Dylan Javier in seventh, Presley Sora in eighth, Cale Pocock in ninth, Joe Francis in 10th, 11th is Justin Vandermeerl, and 12th is Jay. Willie, you want to take the next page?
Yeah, just as we come back down the hill here, Dominic Wright is in 13th with Alec Daffin for Warrior. On his outside, Gavin Higgins rounds out the top 15 for KOL with Chris James in P16. Jacob Adams and Andrew Hardcastle are 17th and 18th with Michael Hossack and Frank Foti for Lake Norman rounding out the top 20. Robin Maldonado in his first appearance will have Mitch Avia for company in row number 11, and Connor Thompson for Shift will have Abbott Motorsports' Brent Jones for company in row number 12.
And then in 25th, we have Pierce Hausler with Lake Norman, Josh Clark in 26th, Dave Carpenter in 27th, Gary Wells, another newcomer in 28th, Mark Rubilis in 29th, Dave Huckleberry in 30th, Tommy Ryan 31st, going for another one of his back to fronts, Chris Albrecht in 32nd, Harrison Talon in 33rd, Jaden Racimus in 34th, Cole Bear in 35th, David Woods rounding out the field in 36th. Now, as we're coming to the green flag here, let's get some race picks done. Willie, you want to take yours first?
Just coming to the green here, I think I'm going to go for second place Gavin Hibbs. Got a very quick time actually invalidating qualifying for track limits at turn 10. So I think it's going to be a force to be reckoned with as we come to the green here. We'll sure pick later.
Well, you took mine, so I'm going to go with a teammate here with Corey Abbott. Gavin was going to be my pick. I see it was also my season champion prediction, but he hasn't had the greatest start to the season so far. Nick, you joined us late this season, so you don't have a pick for champion yet. Do you want to go ahead and make that?
Oh, for champion or for race winner?
Both, actually.
Race winner, I'm gonna go with ninth place right now, Justin Vandermeerl. I think he's a good guy to go with on these road courses. Although Gavin Hibbs and Humer and those guys are tough to beat. Championship, that's tough. I don't know. I'd have to look here where the points are. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head. But I will get back to you.
Oh, you're going for the advantage of knowing where people are in the point. You had to do it
Oh,
blind.
you don't?
My pick was Gavin Hibbs, like I said, and Will had chosen Presley Sora.
Hold on. I'll get back to you in like flat
All right. We're coming to the end of this first lap, and it has stayed mostly clean. I've seen a couple cars kind of get a little squirrely off the corners. The track is very cold at 83 degrees right now. A lot of these guys have practiced with it up above 110. So the car is behaving a bit differently than they practiced, but so far people are kind of keeping it together. Gotten a clean lap under our belts here so far. One of those cars that kind of struggled was Dylan Javier. He went from 7th to 10th, and on the other side of things, Justin Vandermeerl went 11th to 9th. But then Josh Clark, he's in 19th currently from 26th, so move forward. Trouble off of turn 3 with Cale Pocock and Dylan Javier. Kind of instant broadcaster's curse there. Dylan is stopped perpendicular to the track right now, but I don't know that we're going to see a yellow for that because it's just him on the track. But people have avoided him for the most part. and have continued through. Looks like Kale just gets off the track on the apron and the grass and a little bit too heavy on the throttle maybe, and loses it into Dylan. Dylan did nothing wrong there, just kind of wrong place, wrong time, I think. Kale's on the outside of Justin Vandermeer and just kind of overcorrects a little, and then that curb unsettles the car, not getting on the throttle too hard. So that's, to me, that's a racing deal. Will, have you seen this incident yet?
I'm just having a look here now. I was busy looking at the incident between the 89 of Brent Jones and 98 David Woods. Oof. Look, a tricky one. I'll see if I can get my little overhead view here. Looks like Kel Pocock's on the outside. I think he just, yeah, there's no contact between them. I think just as Pocock's trying to work the outside of Justin Vandermeer, it's just a case of the sausage curve that's on the outside of turn 3 there, just unsettling the 6 car, and then it just loses all sorts of balance, and then he just kind of goes for a bit of spin there. So I would agree, racing deal between those two.
Yeah, that's 2 incidents off of turn 3 so far. I think that's probably going to be the most problematic corner. It's at the end of the longest straight, and it's the tightest corner on the entire track, so just a huge braking zone where so much can go wrong, and you're trying to get so much power down for the second longest straight on the track. So hopefully there's been no severe contact so far, just kind of cars getting turned around, and hopefully we don't see anything worse than that as this race progresses.
Yeah, definitely. We've only had obviously that incident between Kel Pocock, Justin Vandermeer, and the innocent 56 and 57 behind them. Yeah, the incident as well between Brent Jones and David Woods. David Woods did actually lose a front bumper, but that was from trying to get his car recovered. Ended up spinning right into the path of Connor Thompson and Dave Huckleberry. So no further on the incident itself between the affiliate teammates. So no penalties assessed still, as the first 5 minutes are now on the clock here, with Frank Photo going down the inside of Dave Carpenter to determine when he's going to get that move done. And it all looks clean.
Yeah, we are 5.5 minutes into this race so far, on lap 4 now. So it's a fairly short lap here, a little over 1.5 minutes, which, considering the size of the track, that's a shorter lap time than you would necessarily expect, but it's just so much high-speed running with all these straights. But there are still these technical parts, especially through the middle of the track, that give a lot of opportunity for driver skill to kind of shine.
Yeah, definitely, I would agree. It's a very, very technical track. It lacks, any particularly technical sections, I suppose. You look at the S's sort of near the end of the lap that we're focusing on now, as we see Austin and Appin and Jay Connor jockeying for position through turn 9. That could be a bit precarious, not really a orthodox overtaking zone. Austin manages to hold station there in position number 9. But yeah, with a lot of 90-degree corners and fairly long straights, where you consider that as kind of a percentage of the amount of track there is. It's not the most technical road course that we go to on a regular basis, but it still provides its own challenges. Turn 3, of course, as we've seen a couple of incidents there already, so you'll definitely see the road course ringers, as they were the likes of Gavin Hibbs, Sean Misha, and Caleb Pukuma, who we know are good on the road courses. So they will continue to shine again tonight, as they currently occupy the top 3 in this race.
Yeah, Gavin Hibbs is one of those guys up in the Up Series or Xfinity Series where he's at least able to give Ethan Stanley a run for his money, which very few people in Elite can do. So that is entirely why he was going to be my pick for tonight. He's probably one of the top 5 road course drivers. That may be a contentious statement, but I think I can stand by it. But Yeah, we are seeing a pretty good start to this race. Nothing too drastic yet, and just laps ticking away, time ticking down.
Yeah, kind of. It's a unique format, I suppose, with the time format as opposed to the lap format, as we're going to see replay of an incident between Mark Rabiot up at the top of the hill, turn 3. He's going to end up facing the wrong direction. I saw that myself a little bit earlier. But yeah, for the most part, this race hasn't really had many particular dramas about it. No one's had any massive incidents. This was almost scary, but everyone did a really, really good job of avoiding it. Our Garsman team was going over the side of Mark, and then Mark eventually being able to get out of the way, so not really necessitating a yellow there, only one car involved, and he managed to scoot out the way pretty quickly.
And Dylan just
Yeah,
barely getting caught up in that. He's really not had a very happy start to this race. Fairly clean damage-wise, just a little banged up, but nothing major. But again, with these straights, you're reaching pretty high speeds, so even a little bit of aero damage can definitely hurt you.
I think another thing that we might also see come into play, we have the big long back straight. You're reaching sort of 160, 165 miles per hour, and you're going into heavy braking zone. You're going all the way down to first gear, sort of 30, 40 miles an hour. I think one thing we're going to start to see come into play is brake temperature and tyre temperature. Obviously, tyres will wear naturally throughout the race. That happens in literally any racetrack. But with these heavy braking zones, turns 1, turn 3, and turn 5, those will wear the brakes a lot, and they will continue to build and build temperature to the point where brake performance won't always be at its optimal level later on in the race. And that could really start to catch some drivers out. We saw Marco Barros go for a little spin. I'm sure we're starting to see inklings of that as well with some other drivers before long. So that's another thing that these drivers are going to have to manage. You know, are you going to want to brake sort of 10, 20 meters earlier in the interest of maintaining your brake performance over the course of a run? That could be something that these guys look at here, but honestly, I look at the timing boards, and Hibbs, Leisure, and Pacuma are absolutely running away with it. They're all within a second of each other up at the top 3, but they're 5 seconds ahead of their nearest contender, Presley Sora. So they are all absolutely running away with it between the 3 of them.
And Presley Sora has moved up 4 positions from the start. With the pace of these top 3, I think unless something changes, the fight is for the rest of the field is going to be for that 4th spot. But I say that there's 3 cars relatively close to that, and then another gap of a few seconds to 7th place with Justin Vandermeer. There's definitely groups of cars that are kind of separating themselves from the others, and as long as there's no cars off on their own, that still can lead to pretty good racing, and hopefully that is what we see. I'm seeing a lot of cars take a lot of some of these anti-cut curbs, the yellow curves on the apexes of these corners, and they seem to be handling it pretty well, but that's something that I didn't like doing when I was doing practice laps here. Did you have any experience with that, Will?
I did a few laps in the test drive during the hour-long practice preceding the race. I was also quite averse to the sausage curbs. I figured, you know, regular to sort of the mainly to the Xfinity car, but also the truck as well. Not so much the next gen. But typically, this car seems very, very low down. Obviously, there's a lot of aerodynamic elements. Generates a lot of downforce compared to the other stock cars on the sim. So I figured it would not like the sausage curbs nearly as much. I thought maybe you might hit it with the splitter or something, but the suspension and the body of the car seems to actually be firm in the impact pretty well. And of course, you're cutting the corner a little bit more, you're shaving those meters off, you are gaining a considerable amount of time by being able to take those curbs, but it's not something that I experimented with. I thought that was something that the cars were just, I think, a bit too low down to do, but evidently these guys up at the front particularly have experimented with that and have found success with it. They're proving the, I suppose, amount of time they've put into it, as we see a replay here of Gavin Higgins and Austin and Abner going into turn 5, and that's the 60 going for a spin, and the 20 as well in sympathy. So they've both spun at the exit of turn 5, and that has caused a bit of a stoppage there. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, was that? Did they just spin independently but in sync there?
I think so. That's what I'm seeing.
I guess they both just went in a little deep into the corner
Yeah.
to try and get the better of the other car, and it turned out the same for both of them. It's pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah, they both just dropped it.
Usually you'll see one car do that, but not the other, but both
Synchronized
in
spinning.
sync. Synchronized spin, yeah, it's kind of fun to see. Not something you want to see necessarily, but
Not for those two, and probably not for Jay either, who got stuck behind his teammate, but something that I'm sure they'll laugh about post-race.
oh, I'm not sure that Jay and Gavin will be laughing after losing that much time on track there, but um, hopefully they can recover from that, get some spots back after that little detour, pit stop on track.
That wasn't optimal for whatever they're trying to achieve here. They've both lost a few spots for their trouble.
Take a look at these top 3. They are still within about a second and a half of each other. Not really any of them able to pull away from the others, or any of them falling back off of the other 2. But not really any attempts at a move made here that I have seen over the past couple of laps. I am wondering if that's going to change at any point, or if they're just kind of biding their time to the pit stop and potentially hoping to make a move off of any under or overcuts they might try.
I think, yeah, not any one of the 3 has a real significant pace advantage over the other. I mean, they've stayed sort of 1.2 seconds roughly from first to third, pretty much the entire race, since they've sort of managed to break away. That's where they've sort of been the entire time. So I don't think any one of them has a real significant pace advantage. So I think it's going to be a case of, like I say, the pit stops that we're going to see around the 30-35 minute mark, where drivers start to obviously get a fresh set of boots on. Obviously, where you pit earlier before your rival and try to use the fresh tyres, the performance advantage from that to then be ahead of them by the time they come out the pits themselves. Or an overcut where you just go really, really long and then hope to have fresher tyres at the end so that you eventually retake the position once they've undercut you. So it'll be a game of strategy as much as anything else between this top 3, as they all seem very, very close on pace. So I think strategy will be the deciding factor today, it looks like.
And we just saw another replay of Gavin Hibbins kind of going around into turn 1 this time. One of the differences with the track from the higher practice temps of over 110 to is now down to 82 degrees is that, interestingly, the braking distances got worse with the cooler track. There was some speculation that it's the harder tire compound that just doesn't have enough grip on the colder track. With the warmer track, it kind of gets to build up more heat and works a bit better. But it was something like 10 to 20 meters longer braking distances. So I wonder if Gavin is not really expecting that in some of these corners, falling into habits from practice potentially.
Yeah, I think we mentioned, obviously, we spoke to a few guys before the race in the Abbott chat, mainly we spoke to Kale. He was talking about how he has certain braking distances for certain corners, heavy braking zones. All turns 1, 3 and 5, you're all braking around the 150 meter board. But he said every time he tried to brake there, he would just go straight on and would find himself flying off the track. So I do think, with the difference in condition that we're seeing, I think the drivers are struggling to acclimate to sort of how they're, adapting to such a wild difference in track temperature and thus in-car performance as well. I think it's going to be something to look out for.
And with these lead three, they have come up on David Woods, who is 6 laps down now after getting some repairs done in the pits, and he has kind of broken up this lead group of 3, just kind of getting in the way through turns 3 and 4, and that has also allowed Caleb Pecumer to make the pass on Sean Leisure into turn 4. I would imagine that these two guys are not very happy with David Woods right now for opening up that gap, and Sean especially, with that giving Caleb an opportunity to make his way around. And we're seeing Sean just stick right to the bumper of Pecumer right now. I would expect that he is feeling that he's the faster car after being second up until this point, and is going to be looking to make a move pretty quickly if he can.
He's definitely asserted himself to be, as such, up to this point in the race. It's very much been Gavin, Sean, Caleb in terms of pace, but even still, the discrepancies in pace have been very, very small between the 3 of them, hence why they've been so backed up this entire race, and we're nearing the halfway point. There's still 2 seconds from first to third. I think Gavin Hibbs will be absolutely laughing, managing to get past David with no real trouble, and then Sean and Caleb not having the same luck there, so that's opened a gap of 1.5 seconds at the last timing line between himself and Caleb. So what that means now is Caleb and Sean actually have to now try and build a pace advantage. Will clean air potentially help with that? Yes. But Gavin Hibbs has been in front all night long. It will be difficult for Caleb and Sean to extract the extra few tenths that they need to start to close that back up again before the pit stop. So you also have to think about composure. You know, Caleb and Sean, they won't be happy with what's unfolded, but they now need to remain calm and try and take corner by corner. Know that they are quick, and that all they need is a stroke of similar luck to what Gavin had to end up closing the gap right back up again, as they're now coming in on Dave Huckleberry and Connor Thompson here through the last 2 corners here.
Yeah, and Gavin was able to pretty cleanly slice through both those cars in one go. And that has allowed him to open up a pretty sizable gap, a second and a half, 1.6 seconds to Caleb Pecumer in second right now. You mentioned clean air potentially helping. I think another thing that is not going to be helping is that they're kind of on the fringes of having a draft, if they have one at all, from Gavin anymore. With these ARCA cars, they have a really strong draft, and if they don't have that help anymore, I think we could see Gavin Hibbs start to pull away a bit.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that develops over the next couple of laps or so. So we will be coming towards pit stops in the next sort of 5-10 minutes here, as we're honing in quickly on the halfway point. 26 minutes on the clock as we run. Gavin Hibbs leading the way now by just about 1.5 seconds here as he travelled back down the hill. Has got to work past a couple more back markers, but hopefully they shouldn't provide him with too much trouble. Although Caleb and Sean will be hoping Gavin has a bit of grief getting past him as he works his way past the 27. The gap does come down to 1.3, but of course that's going to ebb and flow as this top 3 begin to work their way through the back marker traffic, so we'll have to wait and see. But I think more so than before now, with the gap that Hibbs has managed to create, this race could definitely be won and lost in the pit stops.
Yeah, the fuel window for these cars sounds like it was around 25 laps or so. We are on lap 15 currently, so they could run up to another 10 or so laps. That could be a little off in either direction, but I think you don't necessarily want to go for the full duration run here. You're going to be better off splitting it pretty evenly in terms of tires, at least. I am going to be curious to see who is going to pit first and what kind of chain reaction that sparks.
Yeah, I think that will be decided really by tyre wear. I mean, we'll look at Gavin Hibbs' lap times. His current PB is a 1:32.6. That was on lap 10. His most recent lap was 1:33 flat. So we are seeing very little deviation in terms of fastest lap times. We're seeing it very much plateau, sort of high 32s and low 33s. So it might be a case of, do you gamble on not taking tyres at all? Of course, as you go into the pits, you're limited to 50 miles per hour, and you'll be stationary for a good 15 seconds with a regular 4-tire fuel pit stop. Your tyres will cool down a lot during that. Do you want to instead not take tyres, maybe cut your pit stop time in half, gain 6 or 7 seconds, and potentially have the same performance as a fresh set of tyres? That's something for these front three to consider. Again, another strategic element that will definitely come into play here towards the halfway mark. Obviously, you mentioned the fuel being able to go around another sort of 10 laps at a push. That's another 15 minutes or so. But if they pit in 15 minutes, that only leaves them with about 15 to 20 minutes to make the gap back up on fresher tyres that might not do anything. So I think I would agree with wanting to split the race a bit more evenly so that you have more time to sort of get the jump on your rival, as it were.
Yeah, the common strat in the next gen is to not even take tires a lot of the time, especially with how bad they are on cold tires. These don't seem to have the same cold tire issues, but at the same time, they are seeing a similar lack of fall off.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of thinking that you might have the right idea with just taking fuel only, with the kind of fall off that we're seeing. There are cars that do have damage. I think Cale Pocock is probably one of those. He's running in 27th right now, in between Cale Pokemon and Gavin Hibbs up at the front. And he was someone that was expecting to have a pretty strong run here tonight. So he has definitely had something go wrong. And I can only assume that was, his front end is just beat up. Both corners and the front bumper itself. So he has not had the race that he wanted. And those cars may take a bit more time on pit road to get some damage repaired rather than tires, if anything.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Cale suffered a lot of damage. I think it's been something of a race of attrition. We've seen a lot of mistakes out of a lot of different drivers. So even if it's just, spins and whatnot, we've seen a lot of cars facing the wrong direction at any point during this race. So I think mistake minimization is just as important, really, as outright pace of course. Pace is important. That's why Gavin Hibbs is sort of walking this one a bit. Sean Leisure started to drop off a bit. We don't know if anything's happened to him, but he now stands 5.5 seconds behind Gavin Hibbs. So, yeah, I think with the conditions we're currently seeing out on track, I don't think so vastly different, as you mentioned, to practice, what's called the track. I think a lot of these drivers are really just fighting to keep it on the black stuff.
Yeah, we have seen Gavin Hibbs open up a little bit more of a gap to Cale Pokemon. It's up to a bit over 2 seconds now from that 1.5 seconds it was when that gap first opened up with the lap traffic. Sean Leisure has dropped 2.5, 3 seconds back from Cale Pokemon. He had a really bad lap the last time around. I'm not sure what happened there, but I'm guessing he either lost a little bit or someone on pit road. I heard the pit road siren.
Yeah, Corey's come down from P5.
Sean pitted last lap. Cale's car.
Oh. Okay,
So
yeah. So he's the first lead car. But Corey follows him in the next lap.
It's happening a lot earlier than we expected.
I was thrown off because Sean only lost 4 positions hitting there. There's a huge gap from, second to third is 11 seconds. That's kind of stabilized, but beyond that, it's dropped off quite a bit, 20, 25 seconds for fifth and sixth. Fifth place was Corey. He's pit, and that hasn't updated on these results tab yet. Frank Fodi loses it in, I don't know what turn number that is, 13 maybe?
I think that was like entry to pit lane. Well, that's precarious, going backwards through the pit lane. That's exit. I assume he's lost it exiting turn 9 there, coming into turn 10, the final corner. He was lucky not to get DQ'd. He was going backwards for quite some time there, but he's managed to get that car recovered again.
Okay, 10 laps total, or 10 corners total, and I'm guessing 13. I know this track. To be fair, the numbering on these corners is a little funky. You would expect that height right at the end of that long straight to be turn 2, but that's turn 3 because the little kink in the straight is a turn. So it kind of might depend what track map you're looking at for what turn number it is.
Yeah, I don't get that. They count turn 2, that little kink, and then they count turn 4, which is the other little kink on the other little straight. Those aren't turns. You don't feel it. I don't get it, but yeah. So it's quite a short track. Even in a stock car, it's usually big and heavy. It's still, they're doing this in sort of 90 seconds or so. Obviously, you see like 70 seconds. So yeah, it's a short track, but it provides its own unique challenges. We've seen a lot of mistakes out of a lot of different drivers tonight, even some with a lot of pedigree on the road courses. They're still slipping up and making mistakes. So no mean feat to be quick around here, that is for sure.
Yeah, 2.68 miles. That is just slightly longer than Talladega, where we were at last week, but with quite a bit more braking.
It's a lot more technical than Talladega, and judging by what we've seen so far in this first half hour, I think it's just as easy to get caught up in an accident, I think.
Going to be waiting to see where Gavin Hibbs and Caleb Kumer make their pit stop. Find out where they are in relation to Sean Leisure. This is kind of the interesting phase of interesting wait and see phase of a race where you're waiting to see what happens with the undercut and how that benefits you as a driver, as someone in Sean Leisure's position. Always kind of a gamble if it's going to pay off and you make up any time that you were hoping for. I would imagine that he's going to be looking to get that time, get that position back from Caleb Kumer with his pit stop. The biggest advantage he's going to have is more clear track in front of him as it's kind of reset the lap cars that he's coming up on. So it depends when people pit. He could avoid them, or he could have to pass them all over again. So again, it's a kind of wait and see thing.
Certainly is. I was looking just at the lap time. So Sean Leisure's last lap was lap number 19 of his running here. That was a 1:33.172, which was significantly quicker than a lot of Caleb's last laps. All in the mid to high 1:33s. So I think a few more laps of this, and we could be looking at an undercut potentially for the 49 on the 59. But I look at the 96 Gavin Hibbs. His last lap on 20 lap old tyres, 1:32.6, which is actually quicker than Sean Leisure's first lap and third lap on this new set of tyres. He's got 1:32.6 and then 1:32.9. So Gavin Hibbs is matching Sean Leisure's pace on brand new tyres on tyres that are 20 laps old. So I think no tyres is the call. I think if I'm Gavin Hibbs, I'm taking that, making a mental note of that. If I have that information available to me, of course, and I'm saying, right, I'm coming in, I'm just taking $1 for fuel, as little as I need to make the checkout line, and I'm gonna just scoot out of there, not worry about tyres, because I think even if those tyres start to fall off towards the end of the race, I think the 7-8 seconds that Gavin's gonna save from not having taken tyres, I think will be more than enough to cushion the blow of any pace that he might lose between then and the end of the race.
Yeah, I talked about the comparison with Gavin Hibbs and Ethan Stanley on road courses earlier. One of those things that really makes that possible, to that caliber of driver, is the consistency between laps. And looking at the lap times of Gavin Hibbs, you can really see that it's all upper 132s, low 133s, whereas someone like Humer is kind of all over the 33s and was in the 32s, but hasn't been for about 10 laps now, actually. So Gavin Hibbs is just maintaining that speed on these older tires. And if he doesn't take tires and can continue to maintain that speed, that's just an insurmountable gap. He could even lose it on a corner, and he would still have time to get going and stay in the lead at that point.
Yeah, I think that's also just a case of regular tire saving ability as consistent pace. None of his lap times for Gavin Hibbs, from slowest to fastest, his lap times have not deviated more than half a second. Alien consistency, really, and it also speaks to how well he saved those tires as well to be able to maintain that ultra quick pace. You know, he's setting purple lap times on 20 lap old tires, so he is definitely nursing them well while still being able to maintain that sort of speed. And you know, if Caleb's tires start to fall off a bit quicker and a bit harder than Gavin's does, and Gavin's able to maintain that pace as well as not have to take tires, you know, I think Gavin Hibbs could potentially win this race by a long, long way.
Yeah, we have seen a couple more pit stops here. Chris Albrecht, Jacob Adams have stopped. Alec Daffin did a lap ago. Dominic Wright hit a couple laps ago as well. They haven't... Well, there have only been 3 drivers that have been a factor in the lead here, but they've kind of been in the mid-pack. Jacob Adams currently is 20th after starting in 15th, so he's going to be looking to get some spots back as this pit cycle continues. One driver I do want to point out here is Tom Bourne. I mentioned in the lineup rundown with Tommy Ryan how he likes to do the back to front. Tom Bourne is doing the back to front right now. He started in 31st and is running in 5th place currently, and was up there before these pit stops started, so he's there on pace and not just cycling through. So that's a very impressive run so far from Tom Bourne.
Yeah, he has been flying so far this race. We saw a similar pace out of him in the Truck Series race at Barber. For those that watch, you'll obviously remember that fight between Tyler Foote and Justin Wadsworth earlier in the race, but it was Tom Bourne actually that came up to the back of Tyler Foote quite quickly towards the end of the race, and I think there was only a second between them roughly at the line. It was only Tom Bourne's tyres that couldn't quite hold on that last lap because it was looking for all the world with the pace that Tom Bourne was going to get the move on Tyler Foote. That obviously didn't come to be, and Tyler Foote won on that particular race, but he showed his prowess on the road courses that night for sure. He knows how to scythe through the field very, very quickly, and I look at his last lap. We talked about Gavin Hibbs setting very, very quick, consistent lap times, mid-32s. Tom Bourne's last lap was a 1:32.1. So he is half a second a lap quicker than the current race leader in Gavin Hibbs. He has been absolutely flying. And even before that, 2:32.3s on the bounce in the 2 laps previous. So while his consistency isn't as good, I'm seeing a couple 33s, a couple 34s, even a 35 in there. I think that's from having obviously to car through the field, but he's in clean air now, and he is by some margin the quickest car on the racetrack.
I just saw that replay of Justin Vandermeer into turn 4, and a replay of Gavin Hibbs losing it, and that's also turn 4. I've seen Gavin Hibbs kind of his rear end stepping out of these corners somewhat, so his rear tires must be getting either pretty hot or worn at this point. I would imagine, I don't think he's going to go fuel only with the kind of struggle that he's had handling this car, especially after going off in the gravel here in turn 4. like I mentioned, Justin Vandermeer did that a lap or two earlier, and Joe Francis got in the side of him. Vandermeer not really having the race that his sponsor would be hoping, driving that Red Bull car, of course. But so he's still running in 7th. It's not a bad run by any means, but also not what you were hoping for with him as your race pick.
Yeah,
Speaking of
definitely
picks, Nick, you still owe us a championship pick.
I do. Sorry. Let's just listen to all your guys' analysis. I'm gonna go with Jacob Adams. I feel like he's right now 2nd in points, I believe, and I feel like outside of these road courses, he's one of the most consistent guys on ovals. I think look forward for Jacob Adams to be kind of a championship.
It's very funny to me what just happened, because as soon as you say his name, he runs wide in turn 4, goes through the gravel, and makes a little bit of contact with the 27 of Gary Wells. But no real damage. He's back on track. Spread a bit of gravel for the other guys to contend with. Kind of like putting out a banana peel Mario Kart, I guess. But yeah, he's running 20th right now. First car lap down. I imagine he'll get his lap back as the leader's pit. He is actually just in front of Tom Bourne, so he's not a lap down anymore. Tom is not pit. Tom is pitting right here. He was the leader after Gavin Hibbs pit, but that lead group has now all pit, I believe. Last car that has, or most forward car that has not pit is Harrison Talon I'm sorry. That is not right. Justin Vandermeer in 7th has not pit yet, with Joe Francis in 8th. I would imagine they're going to be pitting here soon. We are at the end of that fuel window. Yeah, both of them are coming on a pit road right now.
Yeah, so this is it. Obviously, Gavin Hibbs has just come in, and the gap has come down somewhat. Also, we mentioned the little mistake that Gavin Hibbs had coming down the hill at turn 4. I think he might have actually taken tyres, unless that was the lap before he pitted. That would. I mean, that was obviously catalysed by either very, very worn hot tyres or very, very not worn, very, very cold tyres, both of which are not optimal for grip, which is why you might have seen the back end of the 96 potentially stepping out from underneath him, but alas, he still remains in the race lead here by a solid 5 seconds over Caleb Bakuma, with nothing really stopping him now apart from a yellow, which is unlikely now with how spread out the field it is. Of course, 2 cars stopped on the track can potentially cause a yellow, but we've not had any such incidents thus far. Less than 20 minutes ago, I think he's now just looking to minimise mistakes.
Yeah, I believe Gavin Hibbs and Caleb Bakuma both went fuel only. Joe Francis also took fuel only, so he has taken that position from Justin Vandermeer, as well as gotten ahead of Alec Daffin with that move. Everyone else in the top 15, aside from those 3 cars, did take tires, from what I can see. So I guess we're gonna see how that holds up over the remainder of this run here with a little over 18 and a half minutes left. Gavin Hibbs is still putting in blisteringly fast lap times. His last lap was a minute 32.5 versus Bakuma running a 33.6. So he has not fallen off with those old tires. I'm not sure. Okay, both those cars have been out for about 2 laps, so that last lap is valid. Well, actually, no, that's not even good. That's not even a good comparison, because Bakuma didn't take tires either. Sean Leisure, 33.2. So yeah, Hibbs is still just kind of running away with this, despite it only being a 6.5 second gap right now. But like I said, he's able to lose the car in a corner and still maintain that lead. So I would assume that's what he's going to be building up a time gap for. Have that little safety again for the rest of this race.
Yeah, definitely. And I've just seen on my own iRacing client, Sean Leisure would have had an absolute heart attack as he was lapping Harrison Talon. He was going around the ones outside, going through turns 9, turns 10, and Harrison drops it going into the final corner and misses the 49's right rear by just a hair. That would have been a heart-in-mouth moment for Sean Leisure, but he's still going, and just in the lap or so preceding that near incident there, that near miss, he was really bearing down on Caleb Kuma and is still doing so. You see him just in the background there as you watch Gavin Hibbs there. They come down the hill. Sean Leisure is starting to close the gap on Caleb Kuma. I think this is a battle for P2 brewing, and I think as the time ticks down here and Gavin Hibbs continues to put in some really, really quick lap times, I think soon enough these two will accept that it's second they're fighting for, and that barring any catastrophes or yellows or whatnot, that I think the win is a foregone conclusion from the 96.
Yeah, barring any mistakes or outside influence, then I would agree with that. I do think Sean Leisure is going to be able to get around Caleb Kuma here. Even with how little tire wear there is still tire wear. And with him having those fresher tires, at this point they're still 17 or 11 laps. I can't do that right now. They're still fresher than Caleb's tires, and he was arguably quicker. That undercut has put him back on Caleb's bumper, which was what he needed. And now we just need to see if he can make that move.
Yeah, it's the old saying in motor racing, catching someone's one thing, passing them is a whole another ordeal to try and execute. And he's going to have a big pink windscreen for the next few laps, no doubt, as Caleb Kim will be putting up a massive fight to try and keep the 49 behind him. The best opportunity that Sean Leach is really going to have with such little pace differential between himself and the 59 is, as they work past the 27 of Gary Wells, is a mistake or a back marker, and that's just been what's happened there. As Caleb Kim has overshot it, trying to get past the 27 of Gary Wells, and that's opened the door right up for Sean Leisure to coast past the 59 of Caleb Kuma, and he's now up into second place. So just as I thought it has happened, and that's going to be Caleb's worst nightmare now. He's got a bit of a mountain to climb to try and reel that 49 back in with a quarter of an hour to spare here.
Yeah, and I think that might be an insurmountable mountain with that tire advantage that we just talked about, and just with him having, with Sean Leisure having clean air in front of him now. Having a car in front of you, I don't know about other drivers, but for me, I lose so much speed following a car on a road course because I lose a lot of vision of my reference marks. I worry about not braking enough and getting in the back of them, and it's just a huge distraction for me. He has none of that. He can just drive, focus on what he's doing, and pull away from Caleb Kuma here. And I think he's already got over a 2-second gap. So
Yeah.
he's going to be able to do that, I think.
I think even if we saw a little luck up there, but that's not going to be really too consequential for the 49. You see Jacob Adams and company just in front of him. But those are fairly quick race cars. He is coming up to lap them, of course, but they're not slow in their own right. So I think it'll be a while before Leisure does catch up to Jacob Adams. So honestly, I think Sean has a very, very clear track in front of him that he can take advantage of. As you mentioned, no distractions, no visual impairment really as such for the 49. See Colbert in the Matt Kenseth scheme going for a bit of a gravel dive, but he should be okay there. But yeah, I think Sean Leisure is now really in prime position to just kind of drive calmly now, no mistakes, and should really have P2 locked up here.
Yeah, where we saw Colbert put that gravel down on the track after coming back on is probably the worst place to have a loss of traction. The car is already hard enough to put all the power down coming through that bit of track. Having that extra bit of gravel taking that traction away is going to make it that much harder. Makes that whole section just it's a technical track, and it's making it even more technical. That's a interesting change from iRacing, and just adds to some of it.
Yeah, definitely. It'll add something of a surprise element the next time these guys come around to turn 7 and 8 and find a big load of gravel on the inside of turn 8. They're obviously trying to put power down, trying to extend the track, and those little pebbles could send your car careening into a tyre barrier if you're not careful. So obviously part of iRacing's recent debris update to actually give that gravel more realistic grip reduction elements as opposed to it simply being visual as it was before. So next time Short Leash comes around here, you might have a bit of a scare as you see even now as the drivers drive over it. You're seeing pebbles get kicked up, and it could really result potentially, if these guys aren't careful, in something catastrophic.
Yeah, we see that car in front of Sean Leisure is Jacob Adams in the 48. He had dropped down to 20th with the slightly earlier pit than most cars. He has cycled back up to 16th now. I don't think Jacob, his brother Josh definitely isn't a road course guy. I don't think Jacob is much of one either. So I think this race is very much a damage limitation thing for him as the second place in points, as Nickl pointed out. I mean, 16th is still a pretty solid run. Top half, better than top half. So, not a great race, but definitely not one to be upset about for Jacob Adams. Presley Sora still running in 4th as the points leader. That's definitely what he was looking to have as far as a strong run here tonight to extend that lead. On 6th, down from 5th after that pit cycled through. Corey Abbott in 7th. That's kind of where he's been since 20-ish minutes in, here with 10 minutes to go.
I think now as we close in the final 10 minutes of this race, I think we'll take a second now that pit stop is cycled through. Our sponsors will come back for the race.
Sounds good.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
3 years of sellout crowds, 3 years of edge-of-your-seat action, 3 years of jaw-dropping finishes. Worldwide Technology Raceway has rocked the world of NASCAR, and now NASCAR is giving us another reason to celebrate. The 2025 NASCAR Cup Series Championship Playoffs are coming. Sunday, September 7th, 2025. Just when you thought the racing couldn't get any more intense, now every single lap matters. One wrong move could be the difference between elimination and being crowned the king. The Enjoy Illinois 300, the Confluence Music Festival, the NASCAR Cup Series Playoffs, and for the first time in 15 years, the NASCAR Xfinity Series on Saturday, September 6th. Don't be on the outside looking in. See history being made in your own backyard. Go to www.raceway.com for the hottest ticket of the year.
You're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Fueling big to win big. Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Ooh, ooh, big. Cut. To win big, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Ooh, win big.
All right, now that we've heard from our sponsors that we completely forgot about for the first 50 minutes of this race, we're back with a little over 5 minutes left to the finish of this race. Gavin Hibbs still kind of running away with it, 8 seconds up from Sean Measure. Caleb Pecumer another 3 seconds back, and then Presley Sora, it's on your screen I guess, but 13 seconds further in fourth. And Noah Brown, we haven't said his name yet tonight, running in 5th place. Not too far behind Presley Sora, but Tom Boring, who is showing up as Tommy Ryan on the broadcast, that was pointed out that's not kind of correct. The 16 is Tom Boring, not Tommy Ryan. Just put that in your head. Is right there behind Noah Brown. Going to be looking for that spot. He's also got Harrison Talon, I believe, is the one. Yeah, right on his bumper as a lapped car. I don't think Harrison's going to be going for any kind of move on him. So this race is just going to be between Tom Bourne and Presley Sora, or sorry, Noah Brown. Once he gets around the 6 of Cale Pocock, who is also a lap down right now.
Yeah, I think this seems to be our biggest race at the minute between Noah Brown and Tom Bourne. Tom Bourne has managed to get past the 6s. Oh, Harrison Talon with an accident at the exit of turn 3. He has been turned around and going straight into the Almco barrier with contact from the 24. So we'll have a look at that in just a minute. But yeah, the race between the 65 and the 16 looks to be the quickest or closest fight on track at the minute. So we'll have a look at the replay of the incident between Talon and Hossack.
Talon just running a defensive line into turn 3. Defensive or going for the move on Cale Pocock here. That's a very tight entry for a very tight corner. He gets into that anti-cut curb and no contact from Hossack until Harry's already about losing it on his own. You can see those rears just spinning up as he's going around. He got on the throttle a little bit too hard there, it looks like. As for battles on the track, there is the one between Tom Bourne and Noah Brown, and then we also have Joe Francis and Alec Daffin kind of nose to tail right now. I don't know that Francis is necessarily going to be making a move on Daffin anytime soon. He's close, but not close enough for that. But we do have Tom Bourne and Noah Brown side by side into turn 4. Tom trying to go around the outside here. Very big risk of going off in the gravel, and it's just harder to pass on the outside. Does not get it done, but stays alongside for the inside on the next corner. This is a very long, slow corner. You got to be very patient on the throttle to not run wide, and because of that, it's a much easier corner to hold the inside on, and he gets that pass done on Noah Brown because of that. He's going to be looking to open up a gap here and avoid Noah trying to make a move back on him, I think. Not too much going on in terms of battles on track at the moment, I don't think. There's a minute and a half left. Where is Gavin on track? We should have one more lap after this. I think Gavin will be taking the white flag the next time he comes around. He's currently in the middle of the track, turn 6 and 7. Watching Justin Vandermeerl coming through turn 1. Just here's a little bit too much speed and just goes around on him. The 28 of Josh Clark just manages to avoid contact with his teammate there. Aussie teammate. I think Josh Clark runs for Pro Edge and Justin Vandermeerl is Fueled Up Racing, but affiliated teams. I think they are in a channel together anyways. So, Will, had you made a call on that incident with Harry and Michael Huswick?
That was a no call in the end. I originally thought Italian on 24 because I was looking at it from a different angle and it didn't look like the one was a sideways, but I look at it again, I'm like, no, the one was pretty much 45 degrees. So the 24 didn't have much place to go, so that was a no call in the end. I actually did originally call it, so I was like, tally 24, and then I had another look at it. And I was like, actually no, that's not a tally. So I just kind of scratched that off. So, still no tallies in this race as the timer does tick down to 0. These guys have raced very, very cleanly. For as much as it's not been without incident, it's been simply the product of a very, very technical track and whatnot. A lot of self-mistakes, as it were, self-spins and whatnot. But no, they've been very respectful, very clean. So a good 0 tally race for I think the second time this season. Or a second, in all series anyway. The second time this season we've had a race with no tallies issues. The first one was at Barber in the trucks, I believe.
Yeah, these road courses tend to get a lot more strung out than the oval races, as well as it's just a lot easier to have a racing incident versus someone being directly at fault. I mean, obviously there's incidents where someone outbreaks themselves and causes something. I did that last time. I think we have Gavin Hibbs coming to the checkered flag here. Yes, he just took the checkered flag. That is the most exciting call of the season. Congratulations to Gavin Hibbs on that win. Mountain Leisure taking second. Caleb Pakemer coming across the line in third. Presley Sora still a couple of corners, well, one corner to go in fourth. And Tom Bourne gets that 5th place after passing Noah Brown.
Yeah,
I need to let you do these end of race calls, Will.
It caught me out as well. I thought we were still on the white flag lap. The timer ticked down to 0. I thought we'd have another lap after Hibbs took it, but apparently not. We saw him coming around turn 10. All of a sudden he's in the race. Well, oh, good job, Gavin, I guess. But no, it's a very, very dominant performance from Gavin. Once he sort of got clear of Sean and Caleb behind him, he managed to use that gap sort of to his advantage. Didn't have much pressure from behind. Saved himself really, really well. Was really, really consistent on his lap times, especially in that first stint there. And has been very much rewarded for it. 7.5 seconds is nothing to scoff at. Very well deserved win there.
And we just watched Alec Daffin and Joe Francis come across the line in 9th and 10th. Was waiting to see Joe go for a last-minute dive into a corner, but it wasn't quite close enough to make any kind of move happen there. Jay crosses the line in 11th. Gavin Higgins comes back in 12th, and Dylan Javier in 13th. And I believe that is everyone on track, having finished the race now.
Looks to be, as Justin Vandermeerl was the first car a lap down in position number 14. So not quite the lead lap finish for the Red Bull car, but it wasn't the cleanest race for Justin. Got caught up in some incidents not really of his own making, so I'm sure he'll be looking for better than 14th when we come back to the road courses later in the season. But no, it's a brilliant result really for Gavin Hibbs in his first ARCA season. Obviously, we mentioned earlier he was 46th in points coming into this race with a less than ideal start on the ovals, getting caught up in a lot of incidents not of his own doing, but that will do a massive help towards his points tally going into the playoffs, hopefully for him.
Absolutely. So now that we have do we want to take a look at the final results and run down that before we bring in our first interviewer or interviewee?
Sounds good, let's do it.
I get to pop up here. There we go.
All right. Our winner here, Gavin Hibbs, in second place, Sean Leisure, Caleb Becumer in third, Presley Soar fourth, Tommy Ryan is actually Tom Bourne in fifth, Noah Brown in sixth, Corey Abbott seventh, Austin and Abnett eighth, Alec Daffin ninth, Joe Francis 10th. In 11th is Jay Connor, Gavin Higgins in 12th, Dylan Javier in 13th, Justin Vanimo in 14th, Dominic Wright in 15th, Jacob Adams in 16th, Cale Pocock in 17th, and Michael Hosek in 18th. And then rounding out the top 20, we'll do Chris Albrecht and Frank Fody, and the rest of the finishers are there on your screen. And now we'll go ahead and bring up Caleb Becumer, our third place finisher. Caleb, Alayton up in the booth, you got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do.
Pretty strong run from you here tonight, finishing third after starting on the pole. Kind of the top three there were fighting amongst each other, mostly between you and Sean Leisure throughout the flight or throughout the race. Do you want to walk us through it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously I was really happy to get pole, so that was cool. I don't think I've ever gotten pole at a road course. But other than that, I lost them in turn one. We kind of consistently just stayed, in line the whole race, but anytime I got close to Sean, there was some really clean racing. I mean, we kept it off of each other, and I wouldn't say there was any sketchy moments between any three of us. I mean, we started to kind of spread apart towards the middle, towards the end of the race, but obviously anybody in my position would have rather finished better, I think. But with what's happened the last couple of weeks to me in the series, I think I'll be happy with this podium.
Absolutely. It looked like most of the changes in position between you and Sean came down to lap traffic. How much of a role did dealing with those lap cars play in your race here tonight?
Yeah, there was definitely a couple cars out there. I'm not going to say any names, but they were, racing me as if they weren't a lap down. So I will definitely take note of that. But other than that, I think most people did a really awesome job of just not putting it on each other's door whenever they know that, I'm looking to go fight for a podium.
All right. Next week, we've got the double header of Darlington and Iowa. How are you feeling about either of those tracks, or is there one that you are looking forward to more than the other?
Probably Darlington. I mean, it's just a really fun track. It's something everybody knows it, and it'll be a lot of fun racing, I think.
All right. Well, before we let you go, any sponsors you want to thank or shout-outs you want to give?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Bite Size Sports puts the car on the track every week, so big shout out to Bite Size Sports. Shout out to all the Lake Norman guys. I haven't looked back to where everybody finished yet. I know that Austin was running pretty good. Yeah, shout out to Tyler and Ethan. I mean, those guys are some stigs on the road courses, so obviously they have a ton of insight for us every time we come to one of these. But yeah, other than that, just Bite Size Sports, the Lake Norman guys. Huge shout out to you guys. You know, I mean, this wouldn't be here without you guys. So that about covers it.
All right. Well, congratulations on the third place finish, and good luck next week.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Have a good one.
All right, and now our second place finisher, Sean Leisure, will be joined by William White.
Sean Leisure, second place. William in the booth, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so good helping of points, first podium of the season for the 49 team. How do you sum up your night overall?
Well, obviously weren't here last week at Dega, and considering that I straight up embarrassed myself at Kentucky and crashed out at Chicagoland, I kind of was hoping for a good night, and I've gotten considerably better at road courses than I used to be, so I figured be a good chance to make up some points, especially since it be more in my control tonight, and turns out went that way. I know I went off a little bit of a different strategy than the other guys, and ended up working out in the end and got a podium, which is a nice way to round out the night.
Yeah, definitely. We noted sort of the big undercut you pulled on Gavin and Caleb, sort of around the halfway point. Was that kind of we saw as you three were kind of running in a train almost? You came up on some backmarker traffic, and that sort of split you guys apart, and Gavin Hibb started to sort of begin to walk away a bit. Was that sort of the point where you decided to go for the undercut, or was that something you were kind of considering kind of from the green flag?
Yeah, it really was. Whenever we started hitting lap traffic, I just could not coordinate them well at all. I couldn't place somewhere I wanted, and would honestly just catch them at bad times overall. So, you know, once we started getting split up a little bit, I mean, I knew I had the pace. I could run with them both, but I figured I had to do something different than them, and did that. And although I didn't really gain much time, and actually probably lost a little time to Gavin doing that, but doing that, it just made me confident that I could do something a little different, and ended up working out. I almost wish I didn't take tires. I thought tires would be a little bit more of a factor, but they really weren't. Cold temps, it was rubbered up pretty good. It was fast track, so it wasn't really too slick. It wasn't too much sliding on the tires, so tire wear wasn't that big of a deal. But it was a good time.
Yeah, definitely on that. I was going to ask you, you know, is there, you know, if you were to do this race again, you know, what's one thing you'd do differently? Would it be potentially not taking tires at your pit stop, or do you think there might be something else that stopped you from potentially having anything for Gavin at the end there?
Be faster. I think that's really what it is. And I mean, maybe not take tires. I'm not too sure if that would have gotten me any closer or not. I definitely started pushing it since I knew I had a fresh set. They probably weren't going to take a set. So especially how late they stayed out, I figured they weren't going to take a set. So I started pushing it, and just, you know, little mistakes over time, it adds up really quickly on a road course. And yeah, just glad to even survive and make a good night out of it. But yeah, that's probably the one thing I'd do different, just to be faster.
Definitely. Well, it's a good helping of points regardless. You know, best finish of the season. It'll do you good. You know, pre-playoffs, is there anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, partners you want to thank for getting that 49 car on the podium again?
For sure. It's been a long time since I run Elite, and so thank y'all for putting this on and still being around. It's a good time to go run a league that I had such great memories with whenever I did run. So nice to come back, and of course thank you to all the people who support my real life racing, and all the people who are watching the stream. It's y'all put this on, and all the sponsors as well that make this deal. It's a lot of fun to race with good people.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations again on a really, really good finish, P2 again. Congratulations. Thank you very much for your time, Sean.
Thank you, sir. Y'all have a good night.
All right, and now I am joined by our winner, Gavin Hibbs. Gavin, you got a copy?
Yes, I do.
How much were you looking forward to this as a road course race after the start of the season that you've had?
Pretty excited, really. I mean, when they announced the schedule and that and I was looking through all the, seeing what road courses we had, and you know, when I saw this, it piqued my interest, and then originally I was not supposed to run tonight. I had something to do tonight, but got canceled last minute, so I figured, you know, run a bit of laps around here, and you know, it was such a fun fun track, and car felt great, and setup was really good.
Yeah, we saw the top three, you, Sean, and Caleb Kamer just kind of running as a group for the first while, and then you caught lap traffic, and that was what let you. It looked like that was what let you kind of open up a gap to the rest of them. Is that kind of how things played out, and what kind of role did that lap traffic play in the race for you?
Yeah, there's lap traffic, was not terrible, but there was some moments where lap traffic, kind of got in the way a little bit from, not just me, but like guys like Sean and Caleb. And then, also just our completely different pit strategies from us three, and I think that's what definitely helped out in terms of spreading us three apart, after the first run of the race. But lap traffic again, not terrible, but not great. Again, had some moments here and there, but not terrible.
Yeah, you were my pick for the championship prediction for this season, and with the way that your season has gone before tonight, I'm glad that this is the race that you had. We really definitely talked you up quite a bit as a bit of a road course specialist, kind of comparing you to Ethan Stanley. Do you feel like that's a fair statement to make?
Yeah, I would say so, because it's guys like Stanley that running with him for a while. It's whether it's IndyCar, NASCAR side of this league, it's a guy like Stanley. How watching him, how he runs a track like this, or Mid Ohio that we go to in a couple weeks. Just watching how he runs it. Seeing where he's better at, and then just testing it myself. A guy like Stanley, has really helped me become a better road racer in this league. And I always keep saying, I'm just that 91 is always a thorn in my side whenever we go to road courses. But it feels relieved not to have him here. But all the respect in the world for Stanley, so can't respect him enough.
Absolutely. Well, we've got the doubleheader of Darlington and Iowa coming up next week. Do you think you can continue your success from this week into that and onward through the rest of the season?
I would like to say yes, but with how this ARCA car runs at tracks like Darlington and Iowa, I haven't really tried it out myself. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this car reacts in dirty air and all that other stuff. But I think a run like tonight, could really help me push my way back into the championship hopeful. But we're just gonna have to see how these weeks unfold.
All right. Well, before we let you go, any sponsors you want to thank or shout outs you want to give?
Big shout outs. Obviously, it's Strictly Stock Motorsports. Those bringing a couple of those guys along. Can't give those guys enough credit. Being with them for almost 5-6 years at this point. Great group of guys, and a couple of them didn't show up tonight, which they're not road course guys like me, but just them supporting me no matter what, and supporting the rest of the team tonight. Can't give those guys enough credit and enough big enough shout outs, so shout out to them mostly.
All right. Well, congratulations on the win, and good luck next week and going forward through the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, that was our winner here tonight, Gavin Hibbs. This was a pretty good race. Not the most lead changes, but still lots of racing throughout the field. Bill, got any final thoughts for us?
Yeah, absolutely. It was super fun to watch, super fun to analyze. We saw a lot of different strategies. We saw Sean's undercut as well. We saw, the debate of tires versus no tires. We saw consistency prevailing with obviously Gavin, pumping in the 132s constantly, and eventually managing to eke out that gap. But we saw racing up and down the field, we had that 3-car breakaway at the beginning with Gavin, Sean, and Caleb, but all the way down to even sort of last place, you're seeing wheel to wheel battling, but you're never seeing guys wrecking each other. We never had not a single tally for the second road course race this season across all 4 series. We've not had a single tally on a road course, so it speaks to the development series is kind of doing its job, I suppose, in that we're not seeing any major incidents on the road courses, and even I think that will start to translate hopefully towards the ovals as well, and potentially to the other series as these guys begin to sort of graduate. But no, it was a very, very clean race, very, very fun. Shorter than most races. Obviously, it's limited to an hour. Instead of it being a lap race, where cautions can extend it or whatnot. So I think that was definitely nice, was definitely welcome, and I'm waiting for the next one now, which I think is also another timed race, so it'll be enjoyable. I definitely do enjoy the time format.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely helps to put things into a schedule. Any final thoughts from you, Nick?
No, I think this will be a preview of kind of what's to come. We still got, I believe, 2 more road courses coming up. You guys mentioned Eggy in the Mid-Ohio about a month out, so they're back-to-back as well. So 2 weeks of road course racing for these guys about a month out. So I think you'll see kind of something similar tonight where these team kind of rises to the top as we kind of throughout all the series here. Gavin Hibbs, Sean Leisure, Humor, those guys, I'm sure they'll be towards the top of the board in those races as well. But yeah, I think we're off to a good start here. Race number 4 books. Forward to the doubleheader next week. I think that'll be interesting. Darlington and Iowa, or wheelhouse of the guys that are going to be, the oval racers here. So we'll see if it's get different names and faces at the top.
Absolutely. Motegi is the oval, actually, and then we are running Lime Rock in the playoffs. So there are 2 road courses, Mid-Ohio and Lime Rock. But that will do it here for us tonight at the Red Bull Ring. On behalf of William White and Nick Masse, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week for Darlington and Iowa.